doesn't need really any further expansion. I mean, after seeing that, if the audience doesn't have a clear picture of the difficulties and the troubles that some of these people go through, then I don't think that I could elucidate that any better. But because we've been given this time and that I have prepared something, I'd just like to share some words with you all, inshallah. But firstly, before I do so, can I thank the MCB for giving us the opportunity to speak. And I'm pleased to say that HHUGS are pleased to be sponsoring this event, and we're very grateful to be here tonight. The Muslim community has a lot to be proud of. Although not always our best well-wishers, we have been mentioned several times by mainstream media as Britain's top charity givers. I'm sure I am, and I'm sure that we all are proud that we belong to a faith that has as one of its core pillars, as its essence, the act of giving charity. We're fortunate to have a good number of UK Muslim charities taking on critical and important work that we all do and we're committed to in serving humanity, alleviating poverty, strengthening communities, and supporting those who would otherwise be ignored and forgotten. I would ask you all to consider, however, that as citizens of this country and people of faith, who wish and desire goodness for all, that we do not myopically focus on extinguishing the flames of poverty abroad while a fire begins to spread under our own feet. That is not to say that we should not focus on matters abroad, quite the contrary, but as citizens, we have a good deal to be concerned about here within our own community. Since the War on Terror, we have witnessed the unfortunate establishment and subsequent execution of legislation that has affected more so the Muslim community. Since the introduction of anti-terrorism laws, and more specifically some of the ill-thought-out measures such as the Prevent and Channel programs, we have had over 3,000 arrests since 9/11, which, considering the relatively small size of the Muslim community, is of some concern. As citizens of this country, and Muslims more specifically, the greatest tragedy of the legislation are the ramifications that have resulted. But let us be clear, brothers and sisters, and be under no illusion that criminal activity and terrorism can never be justified or accepted. People who break the law or harm their fellow citizens must be subject to the full force of the law. This notwithstanding, however, the Prevent programme and the effective co-option of civil society to using the most questionable methods to root out the extremists in our midst has already and is increasingly causing a hugely pejorative impact on Muslim families. I have a short story to tell actually about something that I'm personally aware of. I have been a teacher in a former life, and as such I often get members of the community approaching me with issues related to their children. And in one such case, a young man who goes to a grammar school was placed under the Channel programme. The Channel programme, for those of you who aren't aware, very simply is a programme where it's seen to be a form of intervention that if state actors believe that a particular individual is going wayward, then they intervene to try and help the family. The young man, he was 13 or 14 at the time, decided to give a presentation about ISIS and the fact that they do not represent Muslims. And he tied it in with the Islamic State, and he tried to juxtapose the two to show actually what Muslims believe and to basically demonstrate that ISIS does not represent that view. Now you see, this is part of the problem. In some unfortunate, twisted way, the teacher simply heard some key words that alarmed her, and she immediately escalated this to senior management. Without undertaking a proper investigation into the matter, that was then escalated further up to social services and beyond. Now when the matter came to light, and I remember because the boy's father, who is a friend of mine, I've never seen him in this way. He was white as a sheet. I've never ever seen him, and he was like that for some weeks on end until this matter was resolved. But it just goes to show, you know, the damage that these programs can inflict on innocent people, and a young man that was simply trying to clear up the confusion because he was upset that these people would hijack his religion. But such is the paucity of knowledge in the non-Muslim community, and how these programs have been expedited without enough clarity, that these things are now taking place. Brothers and sisters, it doesn't take an anthropologist or a psychologist or any other type of expert to highlight the potential dangers and damage that can, and in fact are, being sustained currently by the Muslim community. I don't have the time to go through all the facts and figures, but at HHUGS we do an incredible amount of work in trying to support a number of families. We have, since our inception, helped 300 odd families. At the moment we're still helping about 100. Brothers and sisters,